Cool, good morning. Tom killed it. I got some big shoes to fill, literally. Before I get started, I have two thank yous. My first thank you to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. 100% firmly believe I wouldn't be where I am today without His hand in my life. 100%. So thank you. My second thank you to Shane. Man, I get emotional talking about it, but I thank you for this opportunity. And I share the same as Tom. I wasn't asked, I was told. But I'm grateful that he told me to be here and do this. So I'm very excited to share my story, my testimony with you. What's pretty amazing to me is I've just shared, I hit 24 years this month, and I'll get into it. I wish 24 years ago, some of the messages that we're hearing today was told to me back then. The fire service was a lot different back then. The mentality was a lot different. And to have new recruits here hearing that, what a major blessing it is for the fire service and our culture that we're trying to change. I'm a talker. I'm not a public speaker, so bear with me. A lot of what I'm going to share this morning is very uncomfortable for me. Very uncomfortable. To some, it may seem embarrassing. I'm not ashamed, but it's going to be hard. But I'm going to push through it because I believe in mental health awareness. I understand in life, just in general, life is hard. Take it outside the fire service, our marriages, relationships, our children, loss of loved ones, finances, you name it, life is hard. It's hard. You couple that with our profession, the lack of sleep, the calls we run, the things we see, and you put those two together, and sometimes that is a perfect recipe for some extreme hardships. So I say that I'm willing to go uncomfortable 1,000,000 times over if it means just saving that one person. It's worth it to me. That's how much this means to me. So a little bit about me, Nate Sturm. If you saw the first slide, only my wife calls me Nathan. 24 years in the fire service this month. I work for the Apopka Fire Department down in Central Florida. Extremely proud of my department. Man, I think we have the best. I take just a lot of pride in that. So many opportunities and blessings. I've had an amazing career. I'm currently ranked as a district chief. I'll be in that role 3 years this May. Prior to that, I spent 12 years on a truck. 12 years on an engine, God's work. That's right. I was a lieutenant on an engine for 12 years, almost 13 years before I made it to district. And then prior to that, engineer, paramedic, firefighter, EMT. A couple of my accomplishments over the 24-year period. One thing I would like to highlight, I am a proud member of a few cadres, bearers of the oath being one. I've been blessed with that opportunity to not only teach, but every time I teach, I learn. And then more importantly, like we talked about, I am extremely blown away by the amount of just the relationships that I've been able to build over the years through these cadres. I look through this room and the amount of amazing men and women that I've been able to meet and build these relationships with, and I'm just extremely grateful for that. I am the founder of Buddy Breathers and also serve with a few others in here with Next Rung on their peer support team. If you haven't gotten a coin, I got coins in the back. All the proceeds go to Next Rung. A little bit about my family. Like Tom said, that's my why, man. That's my why, for sure. Man, I'm married to my rock, She's my foundation. She's been my biggest fan, my biggest supporter. That's my wife, Angie, there. 2 beautiful children. My oldest, Carly, 23, just graduated from Florida State University with her master's in education. So extremely proud of her. She teaches 2nd grade down in Tampa, Florida. My youngest, Natalie, she's a fireball. She loves to play travel volleyball, and she has an extreme passion for playing her guitar, which I love. We laugh, a little indoor farm, 2 cats, Sparky Bogey, I didn't picture the guinea pig, sorry, and a gecko named Soul. And then we have my favorite daughter, Penelope. Call her Penny. That's my girl. My family often laughs and jokes because they say if we're ever stranded on an island together, she'd be the last person I voted off, and there's a lot of truth in that. The reason why I share her, when you start to hear my story, I found myself in a lot of isolation and depression, and she did become therapy for me. If you don't know anything about the Doberman breed, extremely intelligent. They're what they're called Velcro dogs. She's attached to my hip. She's very attentive to my emotions. You can see the expression on her face there. She knew my good days. She knew my bad days. And I just found she was with me through everything. She's in depression right now. She's probably sitting by the front door. She's used to a 24-hour shift. She's realized I've been gone for 24 hours and I'm not home. So now she's in straight up depression. But that's my girl. All right. So let's dive in a little bit. Moment of truth. Webster's dictionary defines it as a time when a person or a thing is tested, a decision has to be made, or a crisis has to be faced. Cambridge Dictionary defines it as an occasion when something important happens that tests someone or something that will have an effect on the future. If you live long enough, I promise you will have one. I promise. Now that can come in the form professionally, it can come personally, or sometimes they can happen in tandem. June 30th, 2022. That was my moment of truth. On that day, I was commanding officer. We had a tragic accident on shift. Brother got entrapped under a piece of equipment. He fought for his life for 15 days until he could no longer fight, and he passed away. And became our first line of duty death. Unknowingly, preparation for my moment of truth began 4 years prior. Before I dive in deep into my story, I've got 3 things that I want you to focus on this morning. And I want you to just take a mental note, and I want you to reflect as you hear me speak. What do they mean to you? How is it impacting you? What is it making you feel? And I want you to play them back as you hear. I will dive into them deeper as we move along. But just have a mental note. First one, taking care of others. What does that mean to you? Taking care of yourself. And lastly, the impact on your family. Good? Yes? All right. So going back to that 4 years prior, I founded Buddy Breathers 2018. For me, what I wanted it to be was a Christian-based outreach program that just offered up support for first responders, encouragement, awareness. Back then, it was kind of strange. I had this calling. God really put something in my heart. I couldn't pinpoint it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what he was asking me to do. I didn't know where to go with it. But I had this stir. See, mental health at the time was starting to have a rise in the fire service. We were becoming more aware of mental health in our fire service. Now, statistically, I cannot say this is true, but it felt like there was a rise in firefighter suicide rates. Now, whether that was a rise or it just became more known to us, it was happening. And I talked about earlier, I already knew the impact personal lives had. I knew the impact on our professional lives. And we're seeing this now, and we're starting to gather data, and we're starting to understand. And all I wanted to do was create something that just helped bring more awareness to that. How can I support you? How can I encourage you? And just bring more awareness so we can kind of slowly change that culture. Again, I originally believed this was going to be a support system for others. And I had no idea that 4 years later, it was going to be the very foundation of what I was going to need personally. Blows my mind now to even think about it. The origin of the name, I told you I was a lieutenant on an engine for almost 13 years. We were out training one day, and we were working on our EBSS. Our buddy breathing system. We had a blacked out building. We put a down firefighter. We send one guy in, blacked out, and we were working on connecting our buddy breathing system. And I was just thinking at the time how unique our buddy breathing system is. We're offering an umbilical, a lifeline. It's a tether. That could be the very last-ditch effort to save our brother and sister. But the unique thing about when we connect to our buddy breather is that now we're one. We breathe the same air. Everything that we do has to be done together, in unison, coordinated. If I breach a wall and pass through studs, we're doing it together. And it clicked. It clicked. I was mind blown at the analogy that I could take from there and present it to what we can do for each other. We have the same ability in life to offer up that tether, that lifeline of support to our brothers and sisters. And just like in what we do, it could also be the very last ditch effort to save someone. So I was on a mission. I created buddy breathers, and I wanted to know more. So I started diving into peer support. I wanted to know more on how I could help others. So I got connected with an amazing man out of Marion County, Joe La Cognata. He's a fire chaplain down there. Took a couple peer support classes with him, critical incident stress management. I started thinking of life after the fire service. It's like I said, I'm 24 years in. So how can I stay connected to the fire service? So I started thinking of chaplaincy. I could still be connected to the fire service and still offer that support. So I went that route as well. So he got me connected with Mark Goodman down in South Florida, who runs the state certified chaplaincy program. And I obtained my certification to be a state certified fire chaplain. I told you, Christian-based, what does that mean? In a nutshell, for me, I just wanted how I treated you based off what my principles were, what my faith was, what my foundation was. In a nutshell, it was to love all, regardless of what you believe, regardless of who you are, what you're going through. I didn't care. I wasn't pressing that upon you, but I just wanted to make sure that that's how I treated you. And so I was in search for a verse, and this was brought to me, Ecclesiastes 4, 9, and 10. And I think this sums up how important it is we are to be there for each other, and what happens if we're not. For two people are better than one, for they can help each other succeed. Absolutely. If one person falls, the other can help, or the other can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone is in real trouble. And so you see, that's what I put on my logo, and that's what I keep for my foundation. Back to June 30th, 2022. A moment of truth. I was a newly promoted district chief. I got promoted May 1st. It's almost 2 months to the day. I thought I hit my high. It was the pinnacle of my career. I'd spent 20 years preparing for that moment. I took every seat from tailboard to that with extreme pride. I wanted to be the best in those positions. I held myself to a higher standard. Accountability was huge for me. But as I started moving up in the ranks, accountability started speaking to me a little bit greater. When I became an officer, the two things I wanted to do, servant leadership, and I tried to live on that. I didn't always get it right, but that's what I wanted to hinge on, and then I wanted to take accountability to the next level. What does that mean? No matter what happened with my crew, good or bad, it was on me, and especially the bad. I don't care how minor or how major it was on me, and I took the responsibility first. How could I have changed? What could I have done to change that situation? I say that I firmly believe that that character trait was the one that would come to haunt me the most and become my biggest demon during this time. That morning, I live at Station 1. We have 6 stations in our city. Station 1's our largest. We house anywhere from 14 to 17 firefighters on a given day, multiple pieces of apparatus. Half my crews were running calls. Half my crews were training. I just remember starting my morning off. It was a typical morning. I was contacting my stations, making sure they had the resources available to be successful that morning. Payroll, staffing, emails, normal, typical early morning stuff. And then it hit. Sitting in my office, and a call for help came across the radio. I can hear those words today. I'll never forget. I've been doing this job a long time. This one was real. The tone, the cry for help, I knew it was bad. I knew. So I bolted out of my office, and I arrived first on scene with another chief. He was one of our administrative chiefs. And I found my brother trapped. I knew it was bad. I thought he was dead there. That's how bad it was. And there was nothing we could do. We didn't have equipment. I had called for units. And it was the longest minutes of my life. That state of helplessness. My brother is fighting for his life with 4,000 pounds sitting on him, and I couldn't do a thing. His partner, who called and cried for help, all I could do was embrace him. And so I did. I held him, embraced him, and we cried. We cried. Units arrived on scene. From the time of call, took about 11 and a half minutes. We were able to extricate him and transport him to a local trauma center. He was there 15 days, where he fought and he fought and he fought. I told you about that character trait. Guilt hit me. Guilt hit me so hard. It was destroying me. I felt like trash. Anxiety was now entered in, was off the charts. I couldn't sleep, especially nights before shift. I could not sleep. The anxiety was literally a crippling fear that someone else may get hurt under my watch, and I could not live with that. I could not. My brother is fighting for his life, and all I kept thinking about was, dude, if somebody else gets hurt, I'm done. I can't do it. And I remember one morning specifically, I'm on my way to work. And it hit. The guilt, the anxiety, it hit. I couldn't drive. I pulled over. I've been doing this job a long time. I never had anxiety like this, ever. And all I could think of was I called my wife. And I told her, I said, baby, I can't do it today. I'm scared. I'm scared. She's amazing. If you haven't met my wife, she's a firecracker also. She coached me through it when I went to work. It's what we do, right? It's what we do in the fire service. We bottle it up, we go in, and we don't show it. And that's what I did. Those 2 weeks, I told you about buddy breathers in my training. And I became very hyper-focused. And it's interesting to hear Tom's story because it's funny how there's so many similarities. And I remember talking to him about a lot of these things that he was experiencing that I experienced. And the same thing. I became so hyper-focused on others. I was hurting inside, but I did not want to let them know. And so I did it. There was 15 of us on that crew that day. And I spent every waking hour reaching out, calling, are you okay? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? But yet, I knew I was eating up inside. Multiple visits to the hospital, visiting with his family, other brothers and sisters from other neighboring departments. And I went on for a 2-week period where it's just the guilt and the anxiety were the two top things that were eating me up the most. July 15th, another day, forever etched in my mind. There hasn't been a day since those 2 dates that have passed that I have not thought about those moments. Not a day. Our brother could no longer fight, and he passed away. It now went from an injury to a death. The emotions, if you would have told me they would gain intensity, I would have laughed at you. It's impossible. What I'm feeling now, there's no way in the world this could get any worse. And it did. The guilt got worse. The anxiety, worse. I started developing panic attacks. I couldn't sleep. Depression sat in. I'd find myself dead sleep, especially nights before shift. 15, 20 minutes later, fly right out of bed. Sleep was non-existent in my life for months. This went on for months after this day. There was a pre-incident Nate, and now there's a post-incident Nate. Everything in my life changed. Every single piece of my life changed. My commute. Our brother is buried literally 2 minutes from my home. I pass this to work, to the grocery store, to the gym, and I can no longer make this drive. I found myself, it was time to go to work. I went double the distance around another way because I could not pass by where he was buried. If I wanted to go to the grocery store, I went to another store on the other side of town. Working out, everything changed. I found myself in isolation. I didn't want to be around anybody, but I stayed hyper-focused on everybody else. And I wasn't allowing others to see what was going on inside me. The only ones that were living it were my family. They were seeing it. But on the outside, nobody knew. Because we're good at pretending. And then alcohol hit. My days were overwhelming. After an entire day of reaching out to others, I was spent. And then I feared what the night was going to bring. I knew the night was going to suck. I knew I wasn't going to sleep. I knew I was going to have panic attacks. So I said, hey, I'm going to start drinking. Maybe I can drink enough to pass out, get some sleep, and you know what? Tomorrow's a new day and we'll just do it all over again and see what happens. Well, when I tell you about drinking, I don't mean just having a drink. I was crushing, on average, a 3/4 bottle of bourbon a night. I'd wake up some mornings with about that much left in a bottle. And this became a daily routine. And this went on for months. You know, the amazing thing about alcohol, though, that I learned and I look back, 2 things. My emotions were already a level 1,000. I found when I was drinking, they went to 1,000,000. I'd sit in my room. I have a little man cave. I crack the bottle open, start drinking, and every emotion that I was experiencing gained even more intensity. I'd find myself for hours sobbing until I finally would pass out. And the other thing I'd say about the alcohol, that's the power of the mind is amazing. Because even in my wasted state of mind, I still had panic attacks. I didn't care how blasted I was. 20, 30, 40 minutes later, right out of bed. All right. Let's change the mood a little bit. Get us a little hyped. Some positive words before we carry on. First one. You got this today. Take another step. Hashtag beat mediocrity. We like it? Good for the week, good for today. We'll crush it. Another one. Positively impact one life today. Have a blessed day. Little fist pump, heart emoji, little flex. I love it. Good stuff. It's probably my favorite one coming up. Mindset is everything. Absolutely. Shout out to Devin Craig, always forward, always moving. One of my favorite sayings. Move mountains today. Let's go. And then I love this piece. Sometimes you have to tell the negative committee that meets inside your head to just sit down and shut up. Absolutely. I'm already feeling better. People don't fake depression. They fake being okay. Did you hear that? People do not fake depression. They fake being okay. And I like to add a little more. We don't fake anxiety. I'll tell you right now, we don't fake that. We don't fake addiction. Nobody fakes that. It's real. We don't fake the panic attacks. We don't fake the insomnia. Insert it. But we do fake being okay. Because the reality is, I was faking it. Because you want to know the truth? That's a picture of me on one of those days. Those are posts from me, social media, during this dark period. Hours later, wasted, passed out, drunk in front of my family. My daughter was 11 at the time. My other daughter was 21. My wife. This became my daily norm. But I was faking it. Because I sure as heck didn't tell y'all, but my family saw it. Another one. Same thing. Same day as one of those posts. Picture of me passed out in front of my family. Remember that dog I told you about? That's her. That's what I meant. She was with me, even in my drunken state. One more. It's the best one. Embarrassing. That's what I was bringing home to my family. That's the reality. It's the interesting thing. As I'm putting this presentation together, I had no idea these pictures existed. I had no idea. My wife had screenshots of posts and pictures. It is a sermon for another day, but I'm telling you that I'm telling you that I'm telling you that nothing in life is random. Nothing in life is coincidental. That everything has purpose. Good or bad, it has purpose. She doesn't even know why she did this. She didn't share it with anybody. She didn't. I know now today why it was done, but she had no idea at the time. And the only thing that she could come up with is she remembers specifically during this time frame, there were moments that she reached out to others. And she said, hey, please check on Nate today. Please. He had a rough night. He's not doing well. Can you please check on him? And most of the responses, if not all of them, were, dude, he's good. He's good. I just saw him. He's positive. He's encouraging everyone. He's making awesome posts on Facebook. He's doing well. No. She's begging. No, he's not. I wasn't sharing that. They were experiencing that. They were experiencing that. So the focus areas that I talked about. Is that too loud? Am I talking too loud? The first one, taking care of others. How committed are you? Are you willing? Or is it just on the surface? Do you truly mean it? Because there's a great saying, many are willing to meet you on the mountaintop. Yes? Why? Mountaintop's awesome. But few will meet you in the valley. Why? Why? Because it sucks. It's deep. It's dark. And it's ugly. And if you're committed and you're willing, then you have to be committed and willing to meet those people in those places, because that's the truth of it. So are you genuine when you say, hey, how are you? Because it becomes a common thing. We could go to a public place, and what do we say? Hey, how are you? I'm good, how are you? But do we mean it? When you ask someone that and they start to open up to you, do you regret asking that question? Do you come up with excuses to step away? Or are you going to invest your time and truly be there for them? How available are you? I remember a night specifically. You've seen it. My drunken state. I still had panic attacks. I had one. I would sleep on the couch. My wife, she couldn't sleep because she knew what was going on. And I had a panic attack one night. She come running out to the living room. And I just remember, she looked at me and she was trying. She couldn't do it all. And she said, hey, is there anybody you can call? So I ask you, are you that 2 a.m. phone call? How persistent are you? From the inside to the outside, I know being on the outside, because I never imagined in my life that I would go through this. He told me 21 years into my career I would have this moment. No way. I just made 21 years of my career, and it happened. But from the outside looking in, we think we're bothering people. I don't want to bother them. I don't want to send them a text. I don't want to sound like I'm pushing. But I promise you, you're not. I can tell you every single person that reached out during my dark times. Now, that doesn't mean that I responded all the time. It doesn't mean that if I did respond, that I was elaborate. It might have been good. It was short. But it holds weight. Reaching out holds weight. I remember specifically during this time frame, I started developing some very close relationships. And I went very uncharacteristically radio silent. For people that know me, I talk and talk and talk. My wife, it drives her crazy. Go to a public place and I can talk to a stranger for hours. And I was radio silent, and someone kept reaching out. Nate, how are you doing? Whether no reply or short reply. And I went on for a couple days. And finally this person said, brother, please, pick up the phone. Let's talk. I just need to hear your voice. Please. And to Kevin, I love you. Thank you. Second area, taking care of yourself. You heard in Tom's story the similarities. This is the shaky one. Are you taking care of yourself with the same level of intensity as you're taking care of others? No, I was not. You heard Tom. It's hard. All my training and background was being there for others, but I didn't know how to do it myself. I was neglecting myself. I knew I wasn't well, but I was refusing to address it. I was hyper-focused on others and their needs. And like he said, I asked myself when I look back at this situation, how much more effective could I have been to others if I were well myself? It's not science. It's pretty simple. A lot more effective. I know I could have been, but I still refused. I refused. I was living the fake it till you make it life. Problem is, I faked it very well, but I wasn't making it. I was not making it. I come from the old school, started in '01. Back then, mental health wasn't even dare to be talked about. We lived that suck it up, buttercup mentality. We didn't talk at all. And so I don't know if a part of me, because that was instilled in me 20 years ago, had that. I'm a leader. It's what we do. Take care of our people. I got this. I'm going to be good. I don't need to do this. Nope. Didn't work. Yes, I was a walking contradiction. Because if I reached out to you, I'm sharing with you everything that I know that you need to do, and I wasn't doing it myself. So yes, I was a walking contradiction. And this piece, I need you to hear. I really need you to hear this. And just like he mentioned, it's okay to take a step back. Recognize that you're not okay. To take care of yourself. Take a breather. Work on you. I'm telling you, please hear that. Because it's not selfish. It's necessary. The dangers of not doing that are far greater. Don't let it get to the level that it got with me. Please. What does that look like? Simple. Small things. Have a bad day. Channel some of those negative emotions. Put them into some positivity, some positive energy. I wasn't doing this. Extracurricular. I love to play golf. I stopped. I stopped working out. I wasn't doing those good things. I got beyond that. But we can do things now on the small. Don't let it build up. It's like a 2-liter bottle of Coke. It's going to shake, it's going to shake, it's going to shake, it's going to shake until it can no longer shake and it blows the top off. Don't let it get to that level. Communication. Again, I failed. I know there's many peer support people in here. The one thing I can tell you about communication, Jeremy, my boy, next rung, how many conversations have we had where people just said, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you. The majority of the time, communication is all that is needed. I promise you, there's multiple people in here that I know that do peer support, and they will tell you the same. But again, I wasn't doing that. Why is communication important? Because I believe the more we talk, the more we cleanse, the more we heal. And lastly, the one that nobody likes to talk about. No way. Not going to do that. Not going to seek help, professional help. No, sir. We got to crush that one. Sometimes we got to be able to admit we're not being able to do this on our own. And just like he said, the beauty of that is it does. It equips you. It gives you the tools to recognize these dangers and to address them. It doesn't mean that professional help is going to magically erase your emotions. It doesn't mean that you won't ever have a triggering event and that they'll surface. They will. But consider it your pre-plan. Just like we do in buildings. It's pre-planning your attack. It's recognizing your dangers. And then more importantly, it's finding your exits to avoid them. Matt Ballard, if you don't know him, Freeburn, look him up. That's his motto. Let's burn the stigma. Yes. Yes. Do I think we're better? Absolutely. But there's a lot of work to be done. We're still losing brothers and sisters. So until that number reaches 0, we have a lot of work to do. It's okay to recognize that you're not okay. It's okay to recognize you need help. Third area, the impact on your loved ones. Although you may think your journey is a solitary one, your family is on it with you. Willingly or unwilling, they're in it. This one means probably more to me than any other. In the world of mental health, and don't take this the wrong way, but we're extremely focused on the individual, as we should be. But we don't realize the impact that this has on our families and what they're living, what they're seeing. They don't realize it. And we don't talk about it enough. There's a difference between personal and professional life. You have a bad day at home. Got into an argument with your wife, your child did something, finances are bad, whatever. It's a bad day at home. Who's there? Family. What do? Put that smile on your face. We're going to work. We don't talk about it, right? Professionally, what do? We run a bad call. Put a smile on our face, we do the next one. We do the next one until we go home. But how many of you have had a bad day on the job and brought it home? If you don't raise your hand, I'm telling you, you're lying. Because it doesn't have to be to the severity of what mine was. Any alter in your normal behavior is an impact on your family. I've had days where I've come home from bad days and we're supposed to have a great day at the beach as a family, and my mood was changed the entire day and I didn't enjoy my day. To the severity of dysfunctional behaviors. They experienced my angry outburst. The irritability, off the charts. The irritability was so bad, my family was literally walking on eggshells around me. They were afraid to trigger something in me. My whole home felt like they were all tiptoeing around me. The anxiety, the depression, the substance abuse, that one was the big one. That was the big one. Panic attacks, the insomnia. They're living it. But my brothers and sisters in the fire service didn't know. They didn't see it. My family was. I was crushing my family. I was destroying my family. See, your spouse and your partner, they will carry a weight just as heavy as ours, if not heavier. My poor wife. I think back. She was protecting me from outside commentary. We were under a microscope. A lot of negative speech. She already knew the level of guilt that I had had, and she was trying to shield me from it. She was protecting my family from my negative behaviors, more specifically, the alcohol. My daughter was 11 at the time. My wife knew when that bottle was coming out. So what would she do? Natalie, hey, let's go to bed. Let's go watch TV. She was trying to shield my daughter from me. She didn't want my daughter to experience that. The irony in that is, my 11-year-old knew. We were at IKEA one day. We've been to IKEA?
Yes.
All right. Kind of cool place. I call it the theme park or retail stores. You got miles and miles and miles of a paved pathway through their store, beautiful furnishings, you name it. But you're in there for hours. If you want some Swedish meatballs, we'll eat them on the way. We were there one night. We had 2 carts full of stuff. We get to the checkout line. My daughter's got her best friend with her. Daddy, can I check out? Can I use a scan gun? Yeah, go ahead. Bloop. 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 And I lost it. Absolutely lost it in the middle of the store. Snatched it from her. And I went to town with a machine gun. Right through it. I wanted to get out of there. I had an exhausting day with others. Still during this time period. My daughter stepped back. Stepped back. She looked at her best friend, 11 years old. Somebody needs to go home and have a drink. Yeah. That's the legacy I was leaving. That's the impression I was putting on her at 11 years old. What daddy does. This is what my daddy does. He's irritable. Dang, he needs a drink because I don't want to deal with it. And you know what's funny about that? It crushed me. But guess what I did? Went home. Dang right. Where's my bourbon, buddy? Let's go. It's go time. I'm a full throttle guy. I don't do anything half. It's all or nothing. Let's go. And I did. I went home and I drank. Back to my wife. Again, the triggering events. They were walking on eggshells. My poor wife was trying to do it all. On top of what I've already shared with you, life in general is hard. She had her normal stressors, her job. Now on top of that, what she's dealing with me. She wasn't sleeping because she knew what the nights were bringing. She wasn't sleeping. She was holding on so darn tight. The weight just got so heavy for her. I literally grabbing me. I was like, you know what, baby? Just get on down in here with me. We're both going to be in this hole. And she was. She was. And that's it. The weight can get so heavy, we'll start pulling our loved ones in. And I did. I did. So what changed for me? What was my breaking point? This one still hurts. That same 11-year-old girl. My daddy doesn't love me like he used to. He doesn't play with me anymore. I miss my daddy. And you know what? I'm grateful for that. It was a dagger to my heart. I literally dropped to my knees in tears. And I was done. I couldn't fight anymore. I was losing my wife. I was losing my children, my relationships. I was destroying my family. And that was the best thing that ever happened to me right there. Because from that moment forward, I said, enough is enough. I got to stop being selfish. And I made a phone call literally that day to get set up with help. Literally that day. So we talk about this inner circle, and I fully believe, number one, through the grace of God and His hand on my life, seeking professional help and having this inner circle of people. And the professional help and the inner circle of people were two things that helped rescue me. You have to find this. And if you don't have it, I pray to God that you find it. What is your tribe? Who should be your inner circle? We did a study together. If you're in a men's group, I highly recommend it. It's called Fight Club. One of the best things we did. There was a whole entire chapter on your circle and what it should look like. And these are some of the defining points. First one, people who sharpen you. Find them. People who connect with you on a soul level. Forget the surface stuff. We're going deep. It's needed. It's needed. People who will offer you full honesty and trust. And you know what? The honesty may hurt. But because they love you and they're doing it out of love, they're willing to tell you. Those are the people you need in your life. They share your values. Amen. They do. My tribe does. Their love is 100% unselfish. The loyalty in this group, I didn't even got to say, deep. And there's so much transparency in what we have with each other that it's unbelievable. So embarrassing moment for a second. That's my tribe. Many of them are here. Kevin, Shane, Rossi couldn't make it, captain down in Fort Lauderdale, part of our tribe. My boy Tom, Painter, Snow. They were pivotal pieces in my life during this time. Your tribe is your RIT team. Literally, they're a RIT team. They're equipped. They're on standby. And they're ready to roll at a moment's notice. And they did. They did. They did. They heard my mayday. They heard it. And they responded. And like I told you, them, along with professional help, 100% was what I needed to start my journey in healing. 100%. So in closing, your story matters, man. Tom, thank you. It takes a lot for someone to share their story. It takes a lot. Share it. Share it often. Please. Don't be ashamed. Good can come from it, I promise you. Someone needs to hear it. Definitely has the power to save. I promise you. Someone is waiting. As we close, I'm going to do something very different. It was laid on my heart to do this. It's a little exercise. In a moment, I'm going to call two individuals. Now, I don't care which individual you are. The point is not knowing which one you are. It's more important to know that we're together, that we're one that we're committed, that we're willing, that no brother, that no sister has to fight alone. To the first individual, and do not come up yet, but when we do this, I want to see a show of arms locked. To the first person, if this is you, if you're committed, if you're willing, and I mean willing, are you willing to be there for your brother and sister in that deep, dark, and ugly valley? Then in a moment, I want to see you come up and join arms. To the second individual, someone out there is hurting. I know. I know. I ask you today to take that first step towards healing, that first step towards your strength, your courage, and say, today is the day that I no longer can do this on my own, and I'm willing to reach out. I'm willing to get help. The beauty of this morning, like I told you, nobody has to know who you are in those two. But to the one that is hurting, you're going to see a wall of men and women who are committed to you, who are committed to be there. You're also going to see in that same group, there's going to be others that are struggling like you today. And it's okay. So I ask you at this moment, if this is you, let's join in arms, please. Everybody stand up and join in arms if this is you. If this speaks to you, please. Look around. To that individual that's hurting today, look around. This is a beautiful thing. I love you all. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. You need anything, I will be there for you. That's my commitment to you. But you also see in this room many other individuals who take that same commitment. So I love you. Thank you for this time this morning. Thank you. Thank you.